All right, welcome back to One Bills Live on a Friday. Chris Brown, Steve Tasker, happy to be joined at this time by this week's legend of the game. Perhaps you've heard of him. It's Lorenzo Alexander. And the legend of the game is presented by the BFLO Store, the official retailer of the Buffalo Bills. Come meet Lorenzo at a signing at the BFLO Store in Williamsville on Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. You can enter to win a $250 BFLO Store gift card and a football signed by Zoe. Just enter at buffalobills.com/BFLO. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. You get the whole crew in this weekend, huh?
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you as well, fellas. It's good to be back in studio.
Yeah,
back in Buffalo. Brought a little sunshine. It's not snowing, so that's a positive for me coming from Phoenix.
Right, yeah.
It was 55 on Christmas
I know,
Day
right?
here.
Yeah, so
You need a break from that sunshine, man. Just take
no, actually it's hard to get up this morning. I need it. I need it.
Yeah.
It's part of me now. But anyway, I'm glad to be back. I did bring the whole crew, wife, my 3 youngest children, Zoe, Mason, and Miles, and so they're.
How old are they?
So Zoe's a sophomore now. She's 15.
So they have clear memories of Buffalo.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
They
All
want to
3
come
of
back.
them.
They have
Zoe
good memories.
didn't want to leave. She wanted Daddy to play a couple more years and continue to break myself down.
Right,
so
right,
you
right.
ask her, she's still mad about that.
I don't care if you're crippled at 40.
Yeah, I don't care.
I like
Just
Buffalo.
play. I want to stay in Buffalo. But
Daughters
she loves
are tough, man.
She loves it. And I think a lot of that was because she's older, and so like a lot of my younger teammates, we were just talking about this last night, were more closer to her, more her peer group, so they felt like older brothers, especially like Deion Dawkins. Like they talk all the time. She brought him cookies, right? So it's more like a brother, big brother type of feel. So she didn't want to leave. Mason is 13, real good athlete, good student. So he's back, loving life, doing things well. And then my baby is 9, Miles, and so he remembers it as well, not as much as those other 2.
Right.
But he, they all have friends and getting together and hanging out, especially with the McDermotts and the Babbages, and kind of hanging out with that group that my wife was really close to as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've we've got a pass rusher who finally got a double-digit sack season since you were the last guy to do it here.
All right. I'm
in
glad that's
2016. Well, no, I mean, they haven't got 12 and a half.
Right, yeah.
But Leonard Floyd's got 10 and a half with
Good.
2 games to play here. He's put a nice season together kind of as a free agent signee, although, he was a late signee in June.
Yeah.
But he's been a huge boon to the pass rush here and, really kind of balanced it out, especially with Vaughn, coming back from the knee injury and doing that. So, I don't know. I don't know how many games you've caught, but they've been doing pretty good up front.
Yeah, I've been watching my fair share. It's kind of hard because I have the kids, as I just mentioned, and I coach them in everything. We do flag, we do baseball, basketball, and so I miss some of the games. And people are like, "You're not watching?" Like, "No, this is my game now. I'm gone."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I transition.
Yeah.
One of the cool things, I do have an iPad, so I get to go back and watch the games. And I catch some of the bigger games too. So I got to see last week, like Ed go out there and ball out, pass rush from the inside, and so in keeping up with T-Dot, right, Matt, before he got hurt, I was out in London and catching some of those guys that I played with, Mike. So I try to keep up and try to see what guys are doing out there and how well they're playing or where they can grow at. And so that's always fun from a perspective when I got to play with these guys and you see how they're growing and maturing. And now a lot of these guys are old men, right, for the NFL, leaders, and kind of running the show. And so it's really cool to watch that as a guy that had a little smart part in some of these guys' process.
We got this team. We got to 6-6, which is a little surprising because they had those close losses. A couple of games where they shouldn't have lost,
right?
Like 2, let's say.
Yep.
But anyway, they're 6-6, and they got all right. Here we go. We got to win 5 games at the end of the season to get it. You were there a couple of times, and and they got in 18, but 17,
right?
But for a long time, you never made it because it's a long stretch. Like I'm telling you,
it's hard to win.
It's hard to win a stretch of games.
Even in the, I was doing some radio, and they were talking about like the Chargers are coming up and they're not good. They just fired their coach. I said, hey, first of all, if you got that mindset, right, you're gonna probably lose the game anyway because you don't realize how hard it is to win in this league, regardless of all of the drama that's going around your opponent, right? You always have to show up, and we saw the Chargers come out and play a solid game and play well. Obviously, that was a game that the Bills were able to finish off and find a way to win, which early on, to your point, they were finding ways or not making the plays to get over that hump. And so it's really good to be able to do that in December as you kind of rev up to be playing your best football right now. And right now, 6 wild card and having an opportunity to go to the playoffs, playing your good football and figuring out ways to win these close ones because all the games, for the most part, are going to be one-score games when it comes down to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, right? I mean, you saw, because you were there, you were in London in week 5, and, you got starters going down.
Yeah.
Matt, Daquan, and the week before they had lost Tre'Davious for the year. Those aren't just like 3 role players in your defense.
No,
those are like all-pro caliber players that they all lost in the span of 2 games, and it took them a while to kind of recalibrate with the people that had to fill those voids. Do you feel like this defense has now successfully recalibrated after trying to adjust to 3 sizable losses to their starting lineup?
Yeah, I think so. And then you've had Micah go in and out as well, where you have to have some safety play come in, right? So there's been some injury bugs on this roster on the defensive side where you're trying to find spots, especially at that linebacker position when you lose, right? Obviously, Tremaine wasn't here at all. Him and then Matt Milano goes out, right? Essentially 2 Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber players, and then you have to figure it out with some younger guys. I really like what Tyrell Dotson's been able to do, come in and learn both spots and play both spots really at a high level, right? And then Dorian came in, was trying to figure it out. Still a young player, is going to develop, I think, in a couple of years and be a guy that you can really lean on. But it takes some time, and especially up front when you talk about Daquan, losing him, and then a shutdown corner on the outside. When you talk about like key components of a defense, right down a shutdown corner and playing up front, that's where the games are won really now. It's really hard to overcome that initially. You have to figure out, you putting guys in, or does he fit here? Does this scheme work for him? Do we have to change some things for this player's skill set versus maybe a Matt Milano who can do everything, so it really doesn't matter what we're doing? And it takes some time from a coordinator standpoint and a player's standpoint to figure out where your rhythm is, how can I operate at a high level and execute. And I do feel like they've turned that corner. And they're moving in the right direction with that.
Yeah. So what's on your schedule now? You got to get a day off tomorrow? You going to do a signing or something tomorrow?
Yeah, a signing. My wife is trying to go skiing. Now that I'm not playing, I can do those type of things. Got a chance to ski for the first time last year. I know it hasn't been a ton of snow. I know it's supposed to snow, hopefully, so we may go do that in the morning. And then just kind of hang out, hitting up all our good restaurants. We went to Kalina's, went to Rick's on Main, trying to get over to the Grange Community Kitchen, and just some of the spots that we just enjoyed when we were here. Yeah. So I had to make sure that I ate good, right, as far as healthy before I got out here, because I knew I was going to hit about 10 different spots
off the wagon
and just go hard, right? And Bar Bills is going to be one of them too. Actually, staying near there in East Aurora. So, it's fun, man. I really love coming back and catching up with folks.
One other thing, Coach McDermott obviously took over play calling duties for the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned how the defense had to adjust and do different things, fit guys differently. With Milano out, Terrell Bernard's done a great job of running this defense this year at the middle linebacker spot, replacing Tremaine. But then Coach makes a change and goes with more dime package, brings Taylor Rapp onto the field, takes a linebacker out for better coverage on passing downs. Just some of the things that you've seen from Coach McDermott from a defensive play calling perspective where you said, oh, you know what, that is a good idea. Oh, I like what he's doing there, like those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think as a coach, the one thing I've always appreciated about Sean, it wasn't about doing it his way or his scheme, but figuring out what's the best thing that we can do and operate with the players that he has, right? And how can we go out there and put the best product on the field? Maybe not what I'm maybe comfortable with, because I think if you ask him, he probably doesn't want to necessarily have to play dime. But if that is going to give you the best opportunity, if that's what your personnel is saying we need to do, you're going to go out there and do it. And that's what I've loved. Because when I was here, it looked much different, right? Because I'm not going to cover a whole bunch of people, so we have to figure out different ways to utilize my skill set. And now he's doing that same thing with his personnel. And so that's what I've always respected about him. And when you look around the league, when you see high-end coaches, and, hate to mention his name, but Bill Belichick did this for years, right? He uses his personnel in a way to really highlight their strengths, and Sean is doing that same exact thing. And you figure out ways to mend things, make things better. And when you have young guys come in or guys go down like a Matt, you have to get creative with your personnel group to match up with how people are attacking you, and that's what he's doing.
We've talked a lot about the difference in this season's defense as opposed to when it was under Leslie or when it was in years past. And one of the things that this defense has been better at is splash plays. They were solid, very solid, tough to move the ball against it, but they rarely got big, timely plays. And because of McDermott's play calling and I think aggression at certain key points, that has changed dramatically.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that was something that he always wanted more of, right? That's his personality, being a wrestler, being a safety. He likes being aggressive and dialing things up and really pushing the issue with the opponent, right? A lot of people like to sit back, play coverage, don't let anything get beat, right? That's all fine and dandy, but at some point, let's be the aggressors and force them into some mistakes as well. And I think, obviously with his personality is a little bit different than what Leslie was. Neither is better, but I think that's what your team starts to become. And then I also would say this, Bobby Babbage, who's moved to the linebacker core, right, helping those young guys understand how to fit like the passing and route concepts a lot better, right? That allows you to make a quarterback throw the ball a little bit more air on it so you get an interception. Or maybe those linebackers are getting picks and getting their hands on balls and just in a better position. And, of course, as guys get older, we think about like a Taron Johnson, guys that are always around the ball. They just have that much more experience that they're going to put themselves in a position to make those splash plays versus reacting when you have a young guy out there who may not quite understand what's going on around him.
And Coach Babbage probably deserves some credit for this, but when you think about the fact that Terrell Bernard got limited time on the field as a rookie on defense, then missed the entire preseason game schedule with a hamstring injury, and then gets plugged in week 1 and has done the job that he has done. And I don't know about you, Lorenzo, you could probably speak to it better than I can, but he just comes across as such an instinctive player, like he's an anticipatory player,
right?
Maybe more than anything else. Just speak to what you've seen from him this season.
And I think, again, to your point, a lot of that comes from Bobby Babbage and what he's been able to take from, being with Micah and Jordan in the back end and bringing that aspect as a linebacker, like really understanding what offensive sets, what do they look like, what are the top route concepts you're going to get out of those type of things, and then communicate in a way where his players understand it, receive it, and retain it, and then are able to go out there and play at a high level. And I think that has been a real good key for a young linebacker, really group overall, to have a guy that has that type of knowledge in Bobby Babbage that has been around the DBs to now bring that to you, because this game has changed so much, and to be able to have linebacker coaches to be able to teach linebackers those route concepts so we can get in passing lanes, we can knock balls down, make quarterbacks put air on the ball, is probably a little bit behind, I think, across the board in the league because it is such a new thing. And so you get linebackers that haven't typically had to really understand that at a high level, and he's really helped that transformation and having these linebackers almost become pseudo DBs in the league that we play in with a lot of passes.
Have they started to get them? It seems to me now players are coming out more polished in that because of the high level of passing offenses in the college.
Yeah, well, you see it all the time. But I still think from a coaching aspect and really understanding the why behind it, I think Bobby does a great job there, is making them understand that. And then also never really getting away from, because, Bob Babbage is his dad, that was the linebacker coach that I had, never getting away from being able to use your hands, being aggressive when the run occurs. Because if we think about what has really been kind of like the Achilles heel of this defense over the last 2 or 3 years, it's been able to stop the run in January, in the playoffs, when it's cold outside and people are going to pound it, right, and still having the ability to not only stop the pass, but when come down and be able to stop the run as well, which I think they've done a much better job, I think, just that front seven this year as well.
Yeah, and with Daquan Jones coming back this week from IR, might be even looking better against this Patriots team. Thanks for the time, stopping by, Lorenzo. Good luck on Sunday, getting everybody amped up.
Always, I love that part.
I got faith. I got faith in you. I never had a doubt, for sure. Lorenzo Alexander, this week's legend of the game, so look for him right before kickoff down in that corner, down at the tunnel end. He'll be getting you amped up. And come meet Lorenzo at the signing at the BFLO store in Williamsville, Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m. You can also enter to win a $250 BFLO store gift card. You can just enter at buffalobills.com/BFLO.